You're listening to Neuma, the Crossroad of Science and Enlightenment. This podcast is a place where science meets soul and healing meets hope, where the latest in science meets ancient wisdom to illuminate the path toward healing and transformation. We break through stigma and misinformation to explore the transformative power of psychedelic therapy, holistic health, and the mind-body connection. Through stories, insight, and expert conversations, we provide practical solutions to help you reclaim your mental health, embrace your spirituality, and achieve true enlightenment. Hosted by Alan Wiederhold, author of the book Walking in the Garden, Discovering God Through Psychedelics. Alan is the consummate explorer, passionate about empowering others to embrace the divinity of their true selves, as well as the founder of Neuma Health, whose mission is to restore and transform lives. Here's your host, Alan Wiederhold.
Welcome to the Neuma podcast. This is the Crossroad of Science and Enlightenment. And today, I have a very special guest. This is someone that we've really wanted to talk about this for a couple of months now. We've been trying to do this. And I think she's somebody who embodies the essence of empowerment and transformation. So joining us today is none other than Bea Marie, powerhouse, a motivator, a superwoman, whose really your mission is to kind of help people break through their limitations and live life unapologetically, unlock their fullest potential in the most profound ways. So in our conversation today, we're really going to talk about your struggle, the resilience, the tools that really kind of help you shape who you are, and really the journey that you're actually going on right now. So we were kind of talking in the very beginning about the show about the role of a CEO, an entrepreneur, and all of the things. And when you do that, you seem to lose a little bit of the, how do I say it? You become a little bit more restricted. Would you say that's fair? So we were kind of talking in the very beginning. I've got this incredible product, this brain health supplement that I created months ago just from an idea. And then I put on the founder CEO hat. And now I suddenly feel like I'm restricted. So we were kind of talking about that today. So join me, everyone, in welcoming Bea Marie.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the restrictions that we put ourselves under.
Isn't it amazing? I was running this morning, so I have a whole routine. So I get up 4:30, 5 o'clock. I have an Oura ring, and I kind of track. I'm one of those people that track everything. So I look at my sleep score and I'm like, all right, I'm shooting for an 80. I got a 79. Do I just go back to bed? So I did. I laid back down for 30 minutes. I didn't sleep. So I lay there and I'm like, why am I doing this? So I just need to get up. I need to go and move on with my day and do my stuff. So I go into my office and I open up a book. I read for a few minutes, get some ideas. I get some thought. And then I go into my gym. I'm fortunate I have a full-size gym in my house. So I go work out. I do all of these things to prepare for my morning. It would be really easy for me to say, not going to run right now. I'll get to it later. Or I will just lay in bed for 30 more minutes or 45 or 60 and know that nothing will ever really get done. But I guess the point of all that is that at the very last thing that I do in the morning before I go and I start my day is I cold plunge in 41-degree water. Yeah. So I know it's going to suck. I know it's going to be extremely cold. Love it. Because I control my brain, not my brain controlling me. So I get in for 2 minutes and I just embrace that freezing cold, knowing that I told my brain what.
Love cold plunges. I don't know, it was 2 years ago, my husband got me one for Christmas. And since then, I just love it. I just love it. Because like you said, I control my brain. I control the reflexes that I have. I control my temperature. I control the reality that I'm in. And I don't know, maybe you try it tomorrow. I don't know how you cold plunge, but when I do this in the water, I put my hands in the water and I do this, I close the circuit. You have your energy moving through your body. And when you do this, you close it and then you don't freeze so easily.
So I like to freeze. So I put my hands like this so that it all comes into every area.
Awesome.
And then I get that, so it's on my deck right now. I live in Maryland, on the East Coast of US. It's 39 degrees right now in the morning. So my cold plunge sits outside. So it's awesome. So I've always tried to keep my hands so that it was extra cold.
No, I do this so to be able to stay in longer. The longest I've been in there was like 20 minutes. I know it's not that, people don't prescribe that or say don't stay in there for too long, but I try. But I wanted to push myself, like I control my brain. I control how I feel reality, how I see reality. So I stayed in there, and this is what I discovered.
I actually love that. I love that because I feel like just having that conversation, I put a little bit of a restriction. So when it was 52, I would stay in for 5 minutes. And then I heard somebody say to me once, well, when it gets into the 40s, you shouldn't stay longer than 2 minutes, which is a total misnomer. So just by listening to them say that, I'm going to do that tomorrow. So I'm going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to close my hands.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're so welcome. I just think that, there's so many misconceptions of everything, of health, of, a couple of years ago, even, okay, you're a man, you probably don't know that, but in the 80s, still into the 90s, most medical products were tested on men that were meant for women.
I did not know that. That's actually kind of interesting.
Like for breast cancer, breast cancer medication was tested on men. Ovarian cancer medication was tested on men. So, like, with everything, you dive into this, you create products, that enhance the brain, that go beyond. Yeah. So the more we know, the more we get to tap into our biology, tap into 10 years ago, we didn't know everything that we know about our DNA that we know today.
Yeah, that's actually, it's super interesting because I actually created this company out of that. So I 2 years ago, and I love this conversation because it's always so fringe. Like I was in insurance for 30 years. I was an executive in a startup and basically built the company from the ground up. And I lost my life and my identity in the process. So in an effort to save my marriage, I found psychedelic assisted therapy. Like I'm a veteran, I'm a child abuse survivor, but I knew none of that. Like I had to win just because I had to win. Like, and that was ingrained just inside of me from the very beginning. So when I had this awakening, is what I like to call it, I do what most people do, I think, when they become awakened, is they want to go help other people. So I went and I became a certified psychedelic assisted facilitator. I started helping people. Then I started seeing this problem. So I went to a genetics lab actually in DC who was helping the Air Force with brain and warfighter health initiative. They had identified the post-traumatic stress disorder marker, the gene, and they've been doing these incredible things with this. And I went to them through an introduction from a friend, and I said, can you help me create a genetic test for psychedelic assisted therapy? And we started working on it. And it was incredible because we've been able to identify 7 markers that we think will have a relationship. The problem is that right now, because most psychedelics are illegal, there's still a Schedule 1 in the US, Australia, and all over the world. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to develop a test for things that are illegal right now. But that is the idea down the road. But in this whole process, we were able to create this hydration supplement just from a genetic test. So it was really cool on how we were able to kind of work backwards.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? That when you know what you want, when you have the goal in mind, that then you move backwards and say, okay, what do I need to do to achieve that? Okay, this step. And what do I need to do then before that to achieve that? And what do I need to do and all of a sudden you end up where you are and you're like, wow, there are my steps. That's what I need to do. And that's with everything in life. That's what I see in my coaching. That's what I see in the healing modalities when I work with energy healing on people. It's like we're able to trace back everything. So we can also trace back our future. We go for it. We visualize where we want to go, and then we trace back what we need to do from the point where we are right now to get to where we want.
What do you think the biggest problem is for people to be able to do that? Because as you're saying this, I think if I would have heard that maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10 years ago, I would have thought that's not true. You just work harder or it just fell into my lap. Or, I was listening to a book this morning. They were saying, when your parents die and you get the life insurance, then you can live the life that you want. If you're fortunate enough to have a family who left life insurance. So how does one manifest? Because, and again, this is something we don't really
No, it's not. Like, I don't like the word manifest because everybody's talking about manifesting. You just sit there and you think about something and booms, it happens. Booms, you manifested it. Boops, No, it actually, so epigenetics. Epigenetics is a science which tells us that with the power of our brains, with the power of our mind, with the power of our visualization, we can create our reality because our thoughts become things. It's called spelling for a reason. Everything that we say, everything that comes out of our mouth is like a spell into the void, the universe, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, to God, higher power. What do people do when they pray? They spell. So everything that we can think of, we can create because the thought itself is already the end result. Now we have to create the roadmap to get there. And that is by speaking it out, by saying, hey, Alan, you know what? I would really like to create a company that does this. And then you're like, wow, yeah, I have thought about this. I can connect you to blubs. And then blubs, and then this happens, and this happens, and this happens. Most people say, oh, that's coincidence. No, oh, that's fate. No, that's luck. No, that is you creating. When we go to religion, for example, it says we are created in God's image. What does that?
So talk to me about that. Like, what does that mean? Because there's two schools of thought on that, and I wrestle with this one. We're created in God's image, yet everyone seems to gravitate to for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So how can you be created in God's image, which is free of sin? And how can you, be short? Like it's always been a fascinating conversation. We always focus so much on we're in a deficit from the immediate time that we're born, we're trying to catch up.
The thing is, when a baby is born, everybody is, oh my God, it's perfect. But as soon as the baby develops their own opinion, their own thing, it's like, they're acting up. Oh, they're not sleeping through the night. Oh, they're not doing this. Oh, we're falling into the deficit. And what I truly believe, when it says we're created in God's image, God, higher power, universe, whatever you want to call it, we are part of divinity. We are divine. We are the mirror of divine creation. So who am I to say, oh, I'm not worthy, oh, I'm not worth it, or I'm not good enough, when I am the mirror of God, when I am the mirror of the creative power that created this world, that creates everything. So, and with that, if I am divine, if I am the mirror or the image of God, then how can I not create my reality?
I'm picturing this conversation that I have. So I have a group of men who are brothers. It started off as a mastermind, and it's just much more than that because we call each other out. And we've had this conversation. And we've even gone to the point of one has actually said we are gods, not big G, little g, because if we're created in God's image and we are divine in some capacity, we have the ability to create. We are in some fashion little g's. And when you hear that, you immediately, your heart goes, like I'm creating this false image. There's all this baggage that comes with that. And when I think about what you just said and think about what he said, it's actually beautiful. It's pure because there's no ill intent. I'm not trying to rise above heaven. I'm not trying to rise above God. I'm just saying that I am divine in his image and can go create.
Yes, absolutely. Because not all of me is divine. My soul is divine. And I have incarnated into this meat vehicle that helps me pick up stuff in this reality that we're in. So, of course, my body is beautiful. I love my body. But at some point I was like, yeah, my body is flawed. I'm getting older. I have wrinkles. I have my knees, all of that. My hair falls out, blah, 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 blah. But then but I'm creating life. I have created 2 humans. My body has done this. Now I get to divinely guide those humans into this reality and help them find themselves in this process. So how can I not think that this is a magical process? That being on this planet, being a human on this planet isn't a magical experience. And if it's magic is just another word for divinity for me. Because you can say, oh, this is woo, this is magic, this is spirit, those are all fancy words.
Right. And I feel like that's where, so for us here in the West, I think we're in an interesting crossroad right now, because we really want science so much, but don't understand that science actually came from somewhere else. So I always use the term modern mystics, because I feel like we're at this crossroad of white coat. Michael Pollan, who wrote this book called How to Change Your Mind, he called it white coat shamanism. So we really want to be able to harness what the rest of the world already knows about spirituality, mysticism, or magic, whatever you want to call it, with plants and mushrooms and all of these beautiful things that can heal. But we want to attach some kind of a science to it. We want to replicate the molecule. We want to be able to commercialize it, because for some reason we trust science, but we don't trust the things that are in the ground.
That's the most funniest thing, that I love that you're touching on this, because like you said, everything comes from somewhere. All of the medicine that we have in the Western world comes from nature in one way or the other. And then we synthesized it and created a mantle around it so that we can just pop it and then say, hey, here, take this and pay me $1,000 for it. Instead of just saying, hey, how about you sniff on this plant and it does the same effect?
Yeah. And we don't want to talk about that. So for us, it's been kind of a fascinating couple of weeks, because we just had our elections. And not to get into politics, but there was one of the presidential candidates, RFK. Robert Kennedy Jr. Is running on the platform of getting rid of the FDA. So the FDA here in the U.S. is the governing body that a lot of their money doesn't even come from the federal government anymore. It comes from drug company application fees, which most people don't realize. He's like, let's get rid of it. Let's go back to nature. Let's go back to hyperbaric chamber. Let's go back to natural healing. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're a crackpot loon. And it's just like, people, like, they've been doing this in other countries for thousands of years. Yet we have an issue with it here. And yet we're okay with just being anxious, have depression, all these other things. And we just pop a pill that's going to take care of all of it, which doesn't really take care of anything, because you just learn some coping skills and you get one more drug for that drug.
Yeah. A beautiful friend of mine, she was on antidepressants for most of her life. She was taking, about 30 pills a day. When she realized, she was like, I don't want to live like she tried to kill herself, because she was like, I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. Like, this is not my life. And she has been in and out of therapy since she was like 8 or so. And then in the beginning of her 30s, she was like, okay, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to cold turkey, get rid of all the medication. There must be a different way. It must be something and now, I think 2-3 years later, she's completely clean, and she had this business where she has she wants to create a revolution, because right now we don't have a health care system, we have a disease care system, and that's in every country. Get the people as healthy enough to work, to function, but don't cure them, don't heal them fully.
There's no money in cure. There really isn't. So not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I've been on the healthcare insurance side for 30 years. There is no money in prevention. Like the entire system would shut down. We need doctors who treat. We need doctors who charge. You need to go in and see. So I 100% agree with that.
And I'm also not a conspiracy theorist, but it's just like when you look at things really clearly, really strategically, and just, wipe away all of the fuss and all of the, And then just see the things for what they are. I mean, we cannot see things objectively. We always see them subjectively. But there's just some things where you say, okay, after A comes B and then comes C. There is no D and X in between. So there is no running around it. So let's just look at A, B, and C. And does that look good for you? Does this sound good for you? No? Okay, then let's change it. Yes, but.
Yeah, I had a guest on a podcast about a year ago that used to tell me that. Like, the problem that we have is we think so linearly. We think lineal, like A to B, B to C. But when you're open, and you're open to whatever is the potential to be, then it could be A. A could take you to C, which connects you back to F, which brought you back to B, because it was supposed to be that way. So I was like, wow, but you lose so much of the joy because you miss all of the things along the way because you're thinking A to B, B to C, C to C. And then you realize, wait a minute, like, my life doesn't have to do that. It can actually, I just need to slow down a little bit and have the intuition to listen to maybe B is over here and not in a straight line. But I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning of how you can create using words what I want. And I think most people with words, I think I would like, maybe it would be, but they're not definitive. They're not, I am going to, is that typically what you see when you talk about words? I feel like people use a lot of escape words.
I will try is the best one. I will try to do. I will try means I'm not going to do it. Just simply if you're setting an appointment with somebody and they say, "Oh, I will try to be there," no, they're not planning on it. And the same thing is with you. When you make a commitment to yourself and say, until Christmas, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I will definitely try to hit that goal. Already lost.
Yep. Already lost. So I create these goals every week and I look at them every Sunday. So I actually go back and track, and I have an app that I create all these impossible goals and I track them every year. I track them every quarter to the month to the week. And then you have to go back and you have to have an honest assessment, and what we call it a general's tent, because in the old days of war, the generals would all get together in a tent and they would actually course correct the war. So depending on what was coming in this side or coming in this side, you would make these course corrections. But it involves what you're saying. There is no try. I'm either going to track my meal or I'm not. I'm going to weigh myself every Monday or I'm not. I'm going to get out a tape measure or I'm not. So, and then you can just start to make excuses about those things and then just not even do it.
Yeah, and that's in every situation in your life, in part of your life or on your business. If it's in your relationship, I try to be a better wife, or I try to be a better husband, or I try to be a better mom. I will. No, just be. That is the essence of everything that I've learned in the past couple of years. Don't try. Don't go in the future and say, I will. Just be. Be a better person. Be a better mom, a better wife, a better husband, a better CEO, a better whatever in that moment. Because the thought is already there. You want to create change. There is already change in your mind. So do it now. Don't wait.
I love that. So now, how did you get to this point? Because this is work. It is a train your mind every day, getting the reps. Like any muscle, your brain can be trained. How did you get there? Where was your beginning?
Oh, where was my beginning? So it was a long, long process because I used to be a very big procrastinator. I was a very big on circumstances. I was blaming circumstances for almost everything. And so I used to be an actress for over 25 years in film and theater. And being an actress was most of the time dependent on others. Casting directors, if they would invite you, then directors, if they would like you, then all of the agencies who would support you, like all of this. There were so many people involved in the destiny that at some point, yes, I had an agent. Yes, I was playing at a theater. Yes, I got auditions for movies and stuff. But there was always like this quantum thing of, will I get it? Will I not get it? Well, that's out of my hands. They decide. So, and this is kind of what we're taught in a lot of different areas in our lives, that they have the power. But the thing is, they don't have the power. Mm-hmm. You have the power. And yes, there are circumstances where they will not hire you. But for you to go in there saying you have the power, please, 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 already makes you unhireable.
Yeah, because you're like, I mean, you're going into it almost like needy. Yeah, and no one likes a needy person.
And you're not showing up as you, as your full self, as authentically. You're not showing them why they should hire you. You're just showing them that you want to be hired. But everybody wants to be hired. Everybody who goes there wants to be hired. So
right. I'm almost like it's like everyday life though. Like everybody's competing for the jobs today, and they're applying for 100,000 jobs that they may not even want, or maybe they don't even know what they want.
And that's the thing. You said competing. Why are we competing? You know, like just because, yes, you're an accountant, I'm an accountant. There's an accountant position. We both want that position. But we're so different. So just because that position is made for you, it might not be perfect for me. And I will be unhappy within 3 months, and then I'm going to quit. Even though I got it. So whenever I don't get something, then it wasn't for me. You know, I was in a conversation to go on a retreat with a company, and they wanted me to be there, you know, as a facilitator. And we were talking, and we were thinking about how do we arrange that? How do we get this done? How do we set this up? And at some point, it was like, I'm not going. Okay, I'm not coming. And I was like, they misled me. This was like, I feel so, and I was going down this road of, I feel disappointed now. So, but what happened was there was a huge catastrophe in that region where the retreat was about to happen. Like the airports are closed down. Like, I don't even know if the venue still stands. And there was so much that I didn't know. Now I know that I was not supposed to be there because there was a huge catastrophe. And so when we don't get something that we really, really want, it is for us. It is.
And that's a really hard thing in the moment to try to understand. Because again, you're not allowing yourself the freedom or the capacity to think beyond the selfish, I didn't get it.
And that's what really stopped me in acting, was that I didn't get it. Oh, I didn't get it. Oh, I didn't get it. And I went smaller and smaller, and I dimmed my light, because at some point I was just going to auditions thinking, well, I will not get it. And I met this amazing woman, and she was like, well, what do you want? I was like, what do you mean? What do I want? She was like, what do you want? Well, I want to win a film prize. I want to do this. And I want to, no. What do you want? What do you actually want? I was like, well, I started acting because I wanted to inspire people, because I wanted to give them hope, because I wanted to give them something where they think, if she can do it, I can do it. Or if, I feel so good after her performance, or I feel so elevated, I felt so energetic. So acting for me was actually a vehicle into coaching, because this is what I do right now. You know, I inspire people. I help them change their lives. I help them change their lives to the better. I give them tools. I give them roadmaps. I listen. I hold space for them. I give them the space that they don't give themselves. And through that, I'm making a huge impact in the world. And I'm celebrating humans now, not from the stage far away from them, but amongst them. And this is what I want. This is what I wanted to do, to be amongst amazing, inspiring humans and help them light a fire and ignite passion in themselves. And so to your question, like how did I get to this point, is I figured out what I really wanted. And I didn't let anything stop me from it. Because this is the biggest thing that, yes, we figured out what we want, but then at one point there's like this, oh yeah, but I can't do this because the election, because whatever.
Yes. As you were saying that, I was actually thinking about that. Oh, well, I can just hear my audience. Well, that's not real, because I need money to live. I need all of these things. So they're really willing to settle for a life that they don't want.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Neuma, the Crossroad of Science and Enlightenment. We hope you're enjoying the deep dive into psychedelics, neuroplasticity, and the path to transformation. Before we continue, let's discuss recovery. After powerful experiences, your mind deserves more than just rest. It needs real support. That's where Neuma Hydrate comes in. Formulated with GABA, taurine, inositol, magnesium, and more, Neuma Hydrate is designed to help your brain recover faster and support neuroplasticity, giving you the clarity and the energy to fully embrace your journey. Fuel your recovery and elevate your mind with Neuma Hydrate. Check out neuma.health to learn more. Now, enjoy the rest of the episode.
You said something that I thought was completely inspiring, because somebody asked you what you wanted. You immediately gravitated to all of these things. And I think if you ask the average person, they can tell you what they don't want. They can't actually tell you what they want. I think that's the biggest challenge I think most people have today, is that they cannot really tell you what they want. And it's really hard to fight for something if you don't even know what it is that you're fighting for or want.
Yeah.
Sure?
That's why most people, and me included, are or were in total survival mode. Because it's like, when you know what you want, that's the lifeline that you grab and you hold on to it and you climb up. If you don't know what you want, then you're swimming. And at some point you get really, really exhausted, and then you're getting underwater a little bit, and then you come up again because you're like, oh no, that's not what I don't want to go in. I don't want to go underwater. I want to come up again. And then you're like, oh, and you're struggling, you keep struggling, and then you dive again. You're like, oh no, that's not what I want. So you keep being pulled down or pulling yourself down because you're not ready to grab the lifeline. You're not ready to let go of complaining. You're not ready to stand in your full power and take responsibility for that. That's a big thing. Taking responsibility for what you want and for the steps that you're going to take. And because most people like to blame. Let's put it like that. Most people, including me in the past,
Easier.
Blaming other people why you're not where you are, why you cannot fulfill your life's destiny, why you didn't get the partner that you wanted, why you blah, blah, blah. There are so many whys. But when we focus on the why all the time, why we don't have something, we miss out on the why we do what we do for getting what we want.
I have an 8 and 10-year-old. I'm talking about two humans in the world. So I was blow drying my 10-year-old's hair this morning, and she was just kind of like, it's morning. And because I said, why are you not like, again, I've been up for 4 hours for her. And like, why are you not excited about the day? And she's like, because it's morning. And I said, hey, Google, how many people die in the night in their sleep for various reasons? And I was really surprised at the number. And I said, you got to wake up today. Like, can that not be enough for the excitement of whatever the adventure is going to be? Because again, we can blame it on Monday, we can blame it on the morning, we can do all kinds of things to frame our brain when we wake up. But the reality is, we have to choose the responsibility. I love that, because I've never really thought about it like that, of choosing the responsibility.
What did your kids say?
She's like, just kind of rolls her eyes, because that's how I talk to my kids. So, yeah.
I was like, okay, did she take the bait? Was she convinced, or was she just like, nah?
No, and it's really hard. This. It's really hard to live with a facilitator, because like when there's fights, like they come into the office or they'll come in, and I'm like, so what's the story behind the story? Because it's never the story. It's always the story under the story that's under the story that you're trying to get to. And they're just like, I don't like talking to you. So, because like if they're in a fight, I'm like, all right, what did you say? What did you say? And then I'm like, so you really didn't mean that. You actually meant that. And then you kind of see them working this. At the end, they always end up hugging it out because they're 8 and 10. They're brother and sister. They're super close. Like if you were to take one away from the other one, they're always like, so where's he at? Or where's she at? Are they okay? I mean, they have this love, which is so cool to be able to watch. But at the same time, when you're together all the time and you play together, you're going to fight. So, I love to watch their shift from the blame. But that's what the brain does. I mean, we're talking about the responsibility part and the swimming part, but oftentimes it's the people who are closest to us that are actually holding us down. I mean, you're trying to get your head out and you're trying to grab the rope, but they're pulling you down to where they are, because if you're trying to move, they're trying to look out for your best interests. True? I mean, that's normally the biggest problem I see with people who try to break out or do something different is it's the people closest to them are telling them they can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, most of the time, it's not out of best interest. It's because out of fear. And it's the fear of, if you rise, what does it say about me? That I can also rise? That I can also stand in my power? Wow, power is scary. Standing in the light is scary. I don't want to do that. So you come back down here. Come back down here to me, and we sit in the darkness together. See? Then we got us. We got us. We got our backs. Everything is cool down here. It's kind of like the hell that you know and the hell that you don't know. But the hell that you don't know can be heaven.
Which is another conversation I have with my kids all the time. So, you mentioned reincarnation in the body, and I'm a big believer of that. I believe that this isn't our one go around. I just don't. I went to Bible college. I am a follower of the way. I read the Bible every day. Our mission is to create heaven here on earth every day. Like, I really believe that that's what this is about. And hell is nothing more than separation from peace, from shalom. It's separation from God. Every day we create our own version of heaven or hell. And my kids hate when I say that too. Like, all right, what version are we creating today? So, because you have a choice. Every day you get to choose life or heaven, or you get to choose hell. So, and by staying in the darkness together, we have ultimately created our own version of what we would call hell.
And I always like to draw a picture of balloons. You have balloons that are all in the same height, kind of. And all of a sudden, you have a helium balloon amongst them, and it rises. And then one of the other balloons is like, oh, grab the cord, pull it down. It's fleeing. It's leaving us. Let's pull it down. And you come back down. And then that helium balloon is going to be fine for a little while there, but then it's going to rise again. And if you are a helium balloon, if you are somebody who has ambitions, you will rise. It's inevitable. You will rise, or you will pop at one point. When you cannot stand the pressure of the mass pulling you down, you either go up and leave them and find the other helium balloons, because there are millions of helium balloons just waiting for you to join them, or you're going to pop and you're going to go even underneath the other balloons.
Wow. So my wife sent me a reel a couple weeks ago, and it was about your friends and the people in your life, that if they're not challenging you, then it's more of a cage than anything else, which was kind of interesting because that's what you're saying. In effect, is that there are millions of other helium balloons waiting for you. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, because when you are up there, then there is no competition. There is cheering. There is support. There is no, you and I were doing the same thing, so I need to push you down so I get the job, or so I get the glory, or so I get... No, it's that, wow, you're doing this. This is amazing. One of my acting teachers, he said, after a scene, only clap if you know that you can do that too. And that really stuck with me, because I was like, I want to be able to do this. I think this is amazing. And that's why I'm clapping. And through the clapping, it's actually so profound. It's so simple. Through clapping, we create energy. We create an energetic exchange, and it gives our body energy. It energizes the body. It makes us happy. After a performance, after we watch, Taylor Swift, whatever, or sports games, when we clap, we we get more enthusiastic. Even when we clap our legs or when we tap our leg, whatever. But this motion, it energizes our body. So when you...
Yeah, because your head, so your head starts to automatically move. You get a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's that thing, when you are in a community where everybody is clapping for one another, there's no way that you cannot be happy and ignited and be, also clapping for others. And that's why I always like to say there are millions of other helium balloons welcoming you because they are ready to clap for you because there's enough for everyone. We need to get out of this scarcity mindset that, there is a lack or there's like, if she gets it, then there's not enough for me. No, there is enough of everything. But we are taught constantly that there's not enough food, there's not enough this, there's not enough money, there's not enough there's not enough love. And that's just the biggest lie, that there's not enough.
Yeah. I had this conversation with someone yesterday. This is so synchronous, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I was standing outside and we were talking about capitalism. And he was like, oh, capitalism. I'm like, capitalism in its true form is actually beautiful. It's an exchange of value. It's not anything else. I give you something of value that you think is valuable, and you give me based on what you perceive it to be. So nothing that we have in life has really any monetary value, only what we put on it. So, and he's like, I've never heard anyone talk like that. And there was one of my favorite books is a book by a guy named Garrett Gunderson. It's called Killing the Disruptive Cow. So, and it's all about these financial myths that we have. Killing Sacred Cows. Sorry, he updated the book. Killing Sacred Cows is the original. He calls it the finite pie, which is exactly what you're explaining. The pie is infinite. We think it's finite, though. We think that the pie is only so big that you have to win. I have to win for you to lose, or there's no way that we can both possibly win. There just isn't, because the pie is only so small. It's such a lie, because the pie in itself is infinite. Because like what you're saying, if I'm an accountant who knows that job's not for me, but yet I'm so desperate to go and just get a paycheck, I'm willing to stay down in the water, or I'm willing to stay down with all the other balloons instead of rising to either start my own accounting firm, maybe become a fractional accountant, maybe go work for a nonprofit that gives me purpose in life. But we're so focused on just getting the thing without realizing the potential of everything behind it.
Because this is what we're taught. We are programmed from a very, very young age on. Like, your kids are lucky that you are so open-minded, that you have done the work already, that you are guiding the way in the way you do, just by the way you're communicating with them and to them. But most kids are not that fortunate. Most kids grow up to parents who have a huge backpack of all the stuff that they have gone through in this life and in the other life. And at some point they're like, you know what? You're strong enough now. Here, you take my backpack. And then the kid has the parent's backpack, and through that is developing their own backpack, and this is for generations and generations to come.
So last year, and I talk about this a lot, you've written books, which are amazing. I wrote a book last year called Walking in the Garden, Discovering God Through Psychedelics. And you use the illustration backpack, which is really kind of an interesting thought. So in my first experience, I healed all my trauma. I talk about it in great detail in my book. I lived my abuse again. I was able to relive, not relive, revisit, but I was able to look at it from a different perspective. But near the end of this 3.5 hours session, I'm standing on a dirt road, and I find my heart. And it was the first time I'd seen it since I was little, and it blossomed. And I actually said, there's my heart. I haven't seen you in a really long time. But when you go to war with yourself, and Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps Score, always says, when a body is in trauma and a body is in lies, it goes to war against itself. It's just natural, because you're not living in peace or purpose. So I'm now standing after this incredible experience in peace, and I've never had peace. Like, my whole life I have lived in trauma in backpacks of someone else, but I set them down. So then I decide that 6 weeks later, I'm going to go on another journey on my own. And I remember, this is not an exaggeration, I'm standing on the same dirt road and I'm looking back and my bags are all there. And I keep looking back at them. And God, voice, whoever, whatever you want to call it, I call God, says, why do you keep looking back? You left those there for a reason. 2 miles down the road, and I still hung up on looking back at my bags. And at that point, I realized they were gone. Like, I don't need to go back and revisit the bags because the bags are gone. So many people are carrying these things. And just like you're saying, they're not only am I taking my parents' bags and putting them on me, but I'm also doing that to my kids, which I'm very fortunate, as you say, that I still find a lot of little things. Like, I find the beauty in children because they're unfiltered. They're what we always wanted to be or want to be. But what do? Immediately when a child starts to act unfiltered, stop. Stop that. Boys don't do that. Girls don't talk like that. Stop thinking like that. I mean, really, right? I mean, is that what we're doing to our kids? Like, without even realizing, we put limitations.
That is the worst programming. Boys don't do that. Girls don't do that. Or, stopping them in their emotional expression. That is the programming that leads to all those backpacks. And when you were talking about the road and seeing all those backpacks, that reminded me of a quote by Brad Pitt. Because when he started out, he was the love interest in Thelma and Louise. And then
That's right.
And in the end, he was driving away and the director was like, okay, look in the rear view mirror. You need to look back. You need to look back. And he's like, no, because my character won't do that. My character will not look back. My character is leaving for good and he's not looking back. And this is the theme that he had for his acting career as well, that he was like, I'm not looking back. Everything that I've done. It's done. It's there. So I'm only looking forward. I'm always looking to the future. I'm here where I am, but I'm going there. I'm not looking back.
The responsibility of moving forward. Just kind of as you said, I have the responsibility to just move forward and do what I say I'm going to do.
So I love that you left your baggage on the road.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing to do. I mean, what I found interesting about it for me was I looked back. And then, as I said before, God kept saying, why? And what I said was, I never got to say goodbye to my bags.
Oh, that's so cute. I'm sorry.
I literally did. And God was like, so you need a funeral? So believe me, this is insane. So the next thing I'm in a room, I'm in a funeral home, and I'm laying in a casket. And my family's they're all walking around, everyone's laughing, everyone's at peace, and they're great. And then I'm being lowered into the ground. I'm not making this up. This is so crazy. And the casket lights on fire. And then I hear, time to move, let the dead bury their dead. And I'm like, okay, let's go. But I never got to have a funeral. That was my excuse. I never got to say goodbye.
Yeah. See, there's excuses. We cannot blame. And if we bury that, then we don't have an excuse anymore. Then we don't have an out. Something to blame anymore.
Yeah.
Then we have to stand in our power. Then we have to shine our light. And like you said in the beginning, for most people, the light is more, they're more afraid of their light than they are of their dark.
Yeah, they are. So how do you work with clients today? What kind of clients do you work with? Are they actors? Are they business leaders? Are they everyday people who are trying to find the helium in the balloon?
I work with leaders in the most broad sense. You can be a small person, but you can still be a leader. Like, everyone is a leader in their life. If you are a stay-at-home mom, you're a leader. So I work with...
That's why I wanted to talk about that. So, because I think we all seem to have this thought process that there are leaders and there are followers, but in reality, we all lead. I mean, whether you're blow drying your daughter's hair in the morning and you're talking about Mondays, or you're running a company, or everything in between, you're leading something.
Yes, you're leading your life. So you have you have something to share. So I work with people who have that leader mindset, who have taken the step into their responsibility already. And I mostly work with women, but I also work with men. My brand used to be Superwoman, because when I started, I thought, I can do it all. Of course I can do it all. I can do it all. But then I discovered, and I thought, yes, I can also do it all by myself. And the truth is, yes, I can, but it is so much more fun to share it and to go together. Like, even Marvel and DC, they realize that superhero movies with multiple superheroes, they sell better. So that's why at some point I was like, okay, Superwoman is still cool, because Superwoman realizes that when she needs help and she asks for help. But I am more than just power. I'm more than just superpowers. I'm more than just force. And what I discovered was that all my life, I've been following a certain flow. I've been following, even though I didn't know it most of the time, I was following my intuition. I was following my inner song. And this flow brought me to my company called Moving River, because I truly believe that our lives are a river. And we are here to design that river how we wanted it to be. And when you look at a river, sometimes the riverbed is really strong and really sturdy, and it pushes the water. And then you have a riverbed that is really, really weak. And then you have water that goes everywhere. And you have locks and you have rapids and you have stones in it and all of that. And this is how we design it. The locks and the rapids, the stones in there, those are the blockages that we overcome. But the water, this is us. This is our flow. This is how we go. This is how we flow into the big, wide ocean.
That's so beautiful. And so much bigger. I mean, again, like you're saying, Superwoman, super cool. But you're right. It's more, I want to say, sounds more passionate and more purposeful with Moving River.
And I didn't really answer your question, because you said, who do you work with and how do you work with people? So I do one-on-one coaching and I do healing. I work with multiple different modalities that I merged into the river flow method. And I guide people. I'm a channel. So whatever information comes through me is most of the time something that person needs to hear. I hold space for that person to unfold, unravel, but also to empower. And I'm there to cheer them on. I'm the biggest cheerleader that anyone will ever have, because I just love people. I just love people stepping into their power, into their essence, rediscovering their wild essence and just live the life that they truly want and not the life that somebody else designed for them.
As you're talking about that, I keep thinking, so many people out there who are coach, a mentor. Why would I need that? Oh my gosh, they couldn't get a real job. So, and
I love that thinking.
I know, and it's so funny because I have resisted that word for years, even as an entrepreneur, even having people who direct report. We're all coaches. And it's so funny because my coach, my mentor, told me the same thing. He's like, we're all coaches and you better get used to the word. And the word is actually a great word because it is a cheerleader. It is somebody who is sitting on the side that is holding space, but they're holding you accountable, which is, again, kind of going back to the very beginning. We don't like the accountability part. We want to try. We want to look for a way out. We really don't want to actually create change because there are a lot of other variables of family, obligations, people, thought process. I'll just never be able to do it. So I give myself the out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also resisted the word coach for a long time. I called myself a mentor. I called myself a guide. I called myself so many things, but because just like manifestation, coach is like a trendy word now. Everybody And like your mentor said,
Yeah.
everybody is a coach, but not everybody can coach.
And that's kind of what we're finding is coaches leading coaches. Like coaches are creating movements to teach other coaches who've never really coached anybody, or they've never really created their own purpose. They're just coach. So yeah, so it is kind of a trendy thing right now.
Yeah. So when you're called to support people, when you're called to hold space, because this is what you do in coaching. You're not the one talking. You know, in mentorship or in consultancy, this is something else. Somebody comes to you, here, I have a problem. Tell me how I get out of that. Here, this is the solution. Or if you're a speaker, you know, you talk about a problem, how to solve a problem, how to do this. Beautiful. I'm a speaker, so I love to speak, as you might can tell. But as a coach, you hold space. You hold space for the people to find the breadcrumbs. And sometimes you give a little nudge, you ask a question, you help them when they pivot, you know, you help them when they start debating with themselves if they're really ready for it. And you're just holding space. You're giving them the space that they're not giving themselves. So it doesn't really matter who I work with, as long as you're ready to expand.
Have you ever had a situation where somebody has said, yes, I'm in? Then they get into it, they're uncomfortable, and maybe they retract a little bit, but then they expand and propel forward and finally let go. Because I can see where a lot of people are like, man, coaching sounds really cool, really scary. And then I get in and I have all these doubts. This isn't for me. Maybe I'm not the leader that I thought I was. And then they start retracting a little bit, but then they let go. And then they just like helium balloon it out.
Helium.
I love the helium balloon. That is like just amazing.
I actually have one client, and it was actually a man.
Okay. I feel like it's usually men because we're like where you have so much stupid pride and we have backpack. It's like yeah. So we'll talk about that at another time. But yeah, I mean, men I feel like are worse.
Well, it's like when a woman decides to create change, when a woman knows when there needs to something to be done, then she does everything and steps over her pride, and you know puts that aside and like sees the grand picture more than herself and what it would do for her family, her community, her everything. While men are more focused in when I invest in coaching, then it needs to do something for me. And if I don't see immediate results, it's probably not working. And the thing is, as soon as you enter a coaching conversation, as soon as you enter an energetically held space, you have already changed. Because energy does this. Booms. But the body is slow. Matter is slow. So, and our brain is slow too, unfortunately. So it needs to catch up to the change that has already occurred energetically. So when we think, oh, it's not working, I'm plateauing, this is, we know that from weight loss. At some point, you're going to plateau. At some point, nothing will move. At some point, you're going to get frustrated and you will feel like everything that you're doing is not working. And then, like you said, boom, all of a sudden, you're heliuming your way out of there.
As I think about that, it's not that complicated.
No, it's not.
And I think it's you said something that I thought was interesting because we sometimes begin to immediately think about what's in it for me, not what's in it for humanity, my family, my community, my greater good. You actually used this word at the very beginning, which I thought was beautiful because this is where I'm finding myself, the vehicle. The vehicle is something to something else. It's not the thing. It's a mechanism of the thing that's bigger. So, when I created the supplement, never been in anything remotely connected to the space. Like I was an insurance guy. But then what I realized is that as a veteran and a trauma survivor, for me, Hydrate was the vehicle to be able to communicate and create change within people with trauma. And my company, Neuma, literally means soul. So it is a mind, body, soul company. And that's what I'm focused on. This is just a vehicle to get me there.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. It really is. Because a vehicle can change. We can remodel a vehicle. It can change its color. It can change its interior. It can change everything. But the thing that stays the same is your soul. The bliss and the joy that your soul has. That stays the same. We need to detach from the outside storm and connect more to the bliss and the joy that we have inside, that we have while we are driving that vehicle.
And I feel like so many times we're just driving. Like we don't even know where we're driving to. So I heard Tim Ferriss talk about the 4-hour workday, and you get more done in silence. And you were talking about the brain and how the brain is slow and how the decisions and things happen slowly. But we are so focused on just moving and not really slowing down enough to actually see what the picture is. So like getting up in the morning and doing all of those routines are purposeful because it creates the ability for me to hold capacity for my own self. So I slow down to be able to see a bigger picture of something. And then during the day, like meditating throughout the day, where I'm able to just kind of slow it down to be able to see beyond what I thought I was. So I think that for most people, if we were to just slow it down a little bit, you might be able to get that intuition that you were talking about. You might be able to get a little bit more insight into what it is or where you are and where you want to go. Agreed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why naps during the day are so important, because that's when you embody. That's when all the information that you're listening to, seeing, that you're experiencing will sink in. If you don't take breaks, like I like to take little dance breaks where I just move my body. I put on my favorite song, like 2 to 3 minutes, and that's already enough. For then I sit back down on my desk and I'm like, oh, and I have a new idea that is connected to what I've been doing before that. But if I would have pushed through for 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 hours, I would have never had that idea, because the information that I'm gathering throughout the day overrides what is less important. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, okay, what did I want to do? And then we call it brain fog. No, it's just overwhelm. It's overstimulation.
Oh, I love that. Overwhelm. So, because I talk about brain fog a lot, because a lot of people have it, and that's really what it is, overwhelm.
Yeah.
So how do we find you? Listeners, if they have questions, this has been absolutely amazing. I knew that it would be. How do we find you? I know we're revamping the website right now. Moving River. Yeah. I'm so excited to be able to see the new website, because I looked at the old website before. So how do we find you?
So my old website, superwoman.coach, will still be up until the end of the year. But my new website, www.movingriver.com, is coming up at the end of November. So by Christmas, everything is up and running. But you can also find me on social media. On Instagram, it's Bea Marie Anine. On Facebook, it's Bea Marie. And on YouTube, you will find me Moving River by Bea Marie Anine.
Love it. So, and I'll post those in the show notes too, so that everyone can find you. But Bea Marie, thank you so much for today. This was such an incredible way for me to at least start my day, and for those of you who are listening. There were so many golden nuggets in here. I cannot wait to go back and actually listen to this again. But be the helium balloon. Don't be afraid to just let go and to climb where all the other helium balloons are. This is Alan Wiederhold. This is the Crossroad of Science and Enlightenment Neuma podcast. Thank you. Until next time.